Okay, I can see a lot of people joining us here. Thank you for joining quite early. It's just on top of the hour. We have Enifia from Nigeria, John from London, that's in Ontario, Canada, Ramon from Manchester in United Kingdom. Hey, Caroline from Jamaica, Ray from the UK. Okay, oh, Liberia, that's my second home. That is Sunny from Liberia, because Neye from Nigeria, Chika, greetings from Lagos, Nigeria, that's homeland. Of course, we have Tekola from Abuja. Please keep it coming while we wait for other people. Technically, we will start in about another 2-3 minutes.
You understand?
We just want a lot of people that would like to join to start with us. Thank you so much. First, I've got Leo from Abuja as well. Thank you so much for joining quite early. All right, Joel from Lagos, Nigeria. Please keep it coming. Where are you joining us from today?
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Hey, Patrick. Good morning. How are you today? Oh, did I say morning?
Right.
I know it's not morning in your side, part of the world.
We all go global.
Yeah, it is really. It is about 5 a.m. where I am, so pardon me. So say good morning to you.
I figured as much.
All right.
Going to open the course.
Scott, what time is it at your hand? You're mute. You're mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's 3 p.m. for me.
Oh, 3 in the afternoon. That's all right.
Okay, so we're
Thanks
on the
for joining
same stand time.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know it's a busy part of the day. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Okay, so we have we have about 30 people on the call at the moment. So I think it's about time to start. Because as Agile enthusiasts, we definitely want to keep to time. Time boxing is part of what we really are all about. So without really wasting time, let me just quickly confirm. Can you still see my screen? Am I still sharing? All right, great. I'll start and I'll say welcome on board to everybody who has been here today. We all have been looking forward to this particular session with Scott Ambler, and I'm officially welcoming you. So a quick introduction of who we are and also quick introduction of our guest today. This is the Disciplined Agile Meetup, the Africa Disciplined Agile Meetup. Yes. It is the only Disciplined Agile Meetup in Africa. And then we are a group of people who are committed to promoting the real value of laying agile practices. And it's based on the freedom that disciplined Agile promises. So we reach out to individuals and organizations, particularly in Africa and around the world, with the interest of promoting and developing the Agile and Lean practices. So if you have people who will really benefit from this, please call them and let them attend, especially for upcoming webinars. We try to show up every month, at least once a month. We do try to build the knowledge transfer in all of the practices, frameworks that really are under the big umbrella of Disciplined Agile. So the Disciplined Agile Toolkit is a very robust toolkit. And so that's what we talk about. Of course, this is brought to you by Pete Lauren Consulting. That's the organization I work with. And today we are very honored to have Scott Ambler with us. Scott is someone that I respect so much and I've learned so much from. So I think Disciplined Agile will not be here if Scott and Mark have not put their thoughts together and have created something that all of us are really looking forward to learning from. So a quick introduction of Scott. So Scott is an Agile coach and a consulting methodologist. I worked with Soft Incorporated. It's leading the evolution of Agile data and modeling methods. Like I said earlier on, it was a co-creator of the PMI's discipline Agile, which is the DA. We normally call it DA. And it's a toolkit that contains a lot of practices. And it's an Agile, and it's a lean, and it's in flow. This toolkit helps organizations around the world to improve their ways of working and ways of thinking as well. Scott is an international keynote speaker and is an author, in fact, co-author of over 25 books, which includes the book that is very popular, Choose Your Ways of Working. My copy is just over there, and other books as well. Please join me, welcome Scott Ambler as he takes it away. Thank you so much. And today we'll be looking at applying discipline Agile, becoming a learning organization. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Pete, for inviting me to speak today. I'll just bring up my slides if you can give me a second. It always seems to get in the exact spot where I want to be. Oh, hang on. Okay.
That's it.
That should be better. Okay. I forgot I had both monitors on. Okay, so thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to attend this talk. So what I'm going to be doing is sharing some experiences and some things that I've learned over the years in applying Discipline Agile in practice at various organizations around the world. So first, though, I want to start by saying, so Discipline Agile is a registered trademark of PMI, and it's wholly owned and supported and evolved by PMI. I am no longer involved with PMI. Having said that, myself and Mark Lyons are the co-creators of the toolkit, and we worked at PMI for several years, helping to bring it to market. So the primary reference for DA is, of course, the PMI site. They're very generous in how much information they share, impressively so, actually. And but having said all that, any advice that I give here today is based on it's my opinion and is not official knowledge at all from PMI. So take it for what it is. It's coming from me. I cannot speak for PMI anymore. So as you heard, my focus these days is on Agile data and Agile modeling, specifically, for the most part, in the Agile data space, working on data quality and its impact on artificial intelligence. So for those of you who are experimenting with artificial intelligence now, you've probably discovered that without good quality data, AI just doesn't work. So this is, I think, a critical space that's often ignored. So and it's always been one of my passions. So having said all that, what would I like to talk about today? I'm first going to explore what it means to have a successful Agile transformation or a successful Agile adoption. So I might ruffle a few feathers in some of the ideas I'm going to share, but it is what it is. Then I'm going to get into a little bit of an overview of DA. As you know, this is a very deep topic, which I will only spend a few minutes on. So as I said, there's a lot of great material being shared by PMI, so you can come up to speed. And of course, I always suggest that you take advantage of some of the great training that's available to you in DA. And then finally, I'll get into how do you improve at both the team and organization level. So what does it mean to, for an Agile transformation to be successful? So first, the bad news. Most Agile transformations fail. We unfortunately have the industry unfortunately has about a 70 to 90% failure rate, depending on whose statistics you listen to. But frankly, 70% is bad enough. But I suspect 90% is probably the closer number. So be that as it may, it's not good news. And I think a lot of it is because organizations fail to recognize that this is hard and it takes time. So first, my first word of advice is to start where you are and to recognize that you can improve. So whatever you're currently doing today, maybe you've already tried adopting Scrum or SAFe or less or something else. That's your starting point. Maybe you're brand new to Agile. That's also your starting point. And so whatever you're doing today, you can improve, you can start improving upon that right away. And yes, you can adopt a framework like Scrum or SAFe or something else. But at most, at best, it's a first step on your journey. It's not the final destination. And assuming, of course, that the adoption of Scrum or SAFe or whatever makes sense for you in your situation, it may or may not. But if that's the first step you take, then fine, so be it. That's your first step. But being a Scrum shop or being a SAFe shop is only part of the solution. And even if those frameworks are a perfect fit for you, your situation will change. So they will no longer, they might be a perfect fit today. They won't be tomorrow. And they're probably not a perfect fit today either. But certainly things are going to change on you. So you need to be able to change as well. And that I think is where DA starts to come in. So my recommendation is, instead of just adopting a framework or a methodology, instead strive to become a learning organization. Learn how to learn how to improve, learn how to get better. And that's really what DA is all about. It helps you, it teaches you to get better at getting better, which is sort of a meta way of looking at things. But I would also argue, and this is something that I've sort of come to a conclusion about over the last year or so, also strive to become a purposeful organization. And what I mean by that is, I would hope that the purpose of whatever organization you work for is about more than just making money. So, are you making the world a better place? Are you doing something to help your fellow citizens, help other people to improve their lives, to improve the environment, for example? How are you making the world a better place? Because if you're not making the world a better place, then I would suggest that maybe you look to do something else, and because there's a lot of opportunity out there. So become a purposeful learning organization is I think one of our main goals here. So what environment do we face? So this is, you've probably heard all this before, but it's worth repeating. So what are the top 7 threats to your organization? And 7 is not a magic number. I could have chosen 9 or 20, but 7 fits well on a screen, and frankly, it gets the idea across. So the increasing pace of change. Get used to that. The only thing you can count on is change these days, and the change is coming at us faster and faster. We need to be able to react. This is one of the reasons why the old ways of thinking and the older ways of working simply don't get the job done. They're too slow. And increasing complexity. Frankly, everybody seems to be overwhelmed these days because how do you look at it from the point of view of your leadership, and look at the entire organization. It's incredibly complex. Just the technical infrastructure is complex enough, and the implications of that, and let alone the ways that people work and the opportunities and the legal regulations and what your competitors are doing. Things are just getting harder and harder and more complex. And like I said, everybody's overwhelmed. We need to deal with this complexity somehow. The Great Reshuffle. I don't know what it's like where you are, but certainly in North America over the last year or two, people have been moving jobs. People have been retiring. People have been looking for other places to work. The ability to work remotely is still a critical factor for a lot of people, and people are leaving jobs now in order to find employment elsewhere where they can still work from home. So a lot of very interesting things are going on there. Climate change, of course, is just absolutely critical. Right now in Canada, we have wildfires in the west, huge wildfires, very early in the season for that, and they're pretty serious. And some of the things I was hearing about today is they're expecting some of the fires to burn all summer. So yeah, that's fun. Technical debt. One of the things we saw with COVID, when COVID hit a couple of years ago, was the organizations that were dealing with lots of technical debt really struggled to react to the new environment, to the new ways of working, to put the infrastructure in place to succeed. Technical debt's getting worse. Earlier, I was talking about AI for those of you who are, made it in at the beginning. And like I was saying, the quality of your data is absolutely critical to your success in AI. And, so organizations have phenomenal amounts of data technical debt that's really preventing them from becoming more efficient. And of course, robotics and AI are huge threats to your organization as well, and to your positions. This is going to be a phenomenally interesting decade, particularly for white collar workers, but as well as blue collar workers. I'm seeing some incredible things in robotics that will, we're going to see in the next, come out into the marketplace in the next year or two, that will have a huge effect on a lot of people that think they're reasonably immune. And transformation fatigue. People are tired of all these agile transformations and digital transformations and everything else. We're just sick of it. Yet we need to. But of course, there's opportunities as well. So, the increasing pace of change, opens up a lot of opportunities for us. It opens up markets that or motivates us to enter markets, I should say, that we normally wouldn't.
Recording in progress.
If everybody could go on mute, that would be great. Robotics and AI are also very obviously an opportunity as well. I have to think all of your organizations are probably at least experimenting with both of those right now, or at least thinking about it. If not, then I highly suggest you do so. The Great Reshuffle. A lot of good people are becoming available for hire because they're leaving other organizations. So it's a great opportunity. An increase in holistic thinking, looking at the system and looking at the overall world that we're in. This is a key motivator for becoming purposeful. Increasing agility, of course, being able to react, to sense and respond more effectively is absolutely critical. New ways of working, rethinking, how we approach what we do, and of course, new ways as well. So, what's Discipline Agile? What does Discipline Agile bring to the table? So here's, like I said, I'm gonna do a very brief overview of a very deep topic. So. But I want to point out some critical aspects of it that I want you to be aware of. So first, DA is architected. I'm not convinced that any of the other frameworks, and DA is a toolkit, it's not a framework, but I'm not convinced that the methods and frameworks out there are actually well architected. I think some of the newer ones are certainly Amplio from Al Shalaway and Tameflow seem to be, but for the most part, some of the older methods are not. And I think this really hurts them due to consistency and other challenges. But anyways, I want to briefly share some architectural ideas from the DA toolkit. So first of all, so DA is architected into 4 views. The first one, and probably the most important, is mindset. So, how do you think? What's your way of thinking? And then people, what are our roles, responsibilities, team structures, good stuff like that. How are you, how are you organized, and how do you fit in to the overall picture? And then flow. How does, what's your business processes? How do you, what are your ways of working, the collaborative aspects of your ways of working? So how do you work together, both within a team and between teams? And then finally, practices. So what is it that you do? What's your detailed way of working? And the size of these bubbles is important. The bigger ones are more important than the smaller ones. Now, they're all important, don't get me wrong, but the stuff on the left is a little bit more important than the stuff on the right. I'm sure you've heard that before as well. Some interesting things about mindset. So what does DA bring to the table? So first, we look beyond the Agile Manifesto. So the Manifesto for Agile Software Development was written in 2001. So frankly, it's a lot out of date. We've learned a lot of good stuff since then, and frankly, our focus has shifted. So where the manifesto focused on on solving software development problems of the 1990s, that's not our problem anymore. Those problems have been solved mostly by Agile. But what about business agility or enterprise agility, organizational agility? So a few years ago at PMI, we stepped back and we said, well, knowing what we know today and knowing that our focus is really on the organization, not just on software development, how would we capture the mindset of organizational agility? And here's what we came up with. So we believe in a collection of principles, and as you can see, there's an URL at the bottom of this slide with great details about this. But we believe in this collection of principles, and in order to fulfill these principles, we make promises both to ourselves and to the people that we work with. Here's how we're going to behave. Here's how we're going to, interact with each other and with others. And in order to fulfill these promises, we follow guidelines. These organizational guardrails. So there's a lot of good stuff here. I'm sure you're madly reading. I hope you're reading it. But anyways, a lot of great ideas, a lot of stuff you probably talk about and are probably dealing with in your organizations right now. So this forms the shared mindset. The mindset we hope that everybody in your organization adopts, sort of as a base or foundational mindset. But it's not sufficient. So here's the observation I want to make. So different people from different backgrounds come to the table with different ways of looking at things. So for example, the software people have their mindset. The finance people have a different mindset. The data people have a different mindset than that. The security people have a different mindset. The governance people have a different mindset, and so on and so on and so on. And that's good. That's diversity. That's one of the values of diversity is we bring different people with different backgrounds and different foci in order to the table to work together and to leverage each other's differences. So in order to respect that and to leverage that, we also extend the mindset with domain-specific philosophies. So for example, and I'll talk about the process blades in a minute, but the point is that the marketing people come to the table with this different set of philosophies than the security people, and so on and so on and so on. So we capture those philosophies. And so that way, when you're first interacting with marketing people, you can, maybe do a little bit of reading and understand, well, here's their focus. Here's what their concerns are. Or dealing with the security people or the data people or whatever. Here's the value that they bring, and here's what they're going to be focusing on. So what happens is by capturing these philosophies, first, it provides some guidance as to what would you expect from Agile marketing or Agile security people and so on, but also what would I expect as a non-marketing person? How can I get a better feel for what these people are about and how I might have to interact with them, and how to respect where they're coming from, because they are coming to the table with some real value. So this is a phenomenally different way of looking at things than what you see in the frameworks. And what's interesting is that if you go poking around, there's the Agile marketing community, and they have their manifesto, and there's the data folks, they've got their various manifestos and so on, but nobody's really ever put it together until DA came along and did that sort of a thing. So something to consider. We also, in DA, also supports a variety of practices. Now, my count may be off now. Like I said, I'm no longer at PMI, but last I heard, there's about 1,700 practices captured in the toolkit. And what the toolkit does is it puts these practices into perspective. It puts them into context. There is no such thing as a best practice. All practices are contextual in nature. Any given practice or strategy works well in some situations and is a phenomenally bad idea in others. So as professionals, we need to be able to choose the right strategy for us in the situation that we face. And as our situation changes, so should our ways of working. Now, what's interesting is, so DA, one of the things it does, and this is all freely available, at PMI.org, it puts these practices into context, and it overviews them in something called process goal diagrams. Now, this graphic here is showing two parts of a larger process goal diagram. And what it does, so what I've done is I've taken this from the asset management process goal diagram. And so instead of telling you what to do, prescribing one best way of working, we instead say, here's what you need to think about. So one of the issues you need to think about is, how do you publish assets? Another is, how do you fund asset usage? Where does the money come from using these reusable assets? Now there's two different types of lists here. The one of the lists has an arrow beside the options. And what the arrow indicates is that the strategies towards the top of the list are generally more effective in practice than the strategies towards the bottom of the list. So in a way, it's a bit of a maturity model. The list without the arrow just says, these are good options, choose the right option for you, choose the best option for you in your current situation. So do what you believe to be best. So it gives you advice for, first of all, here are your options, but also more importantly, here are the trade-offs. So that way you can choose more effectively. So keep this in mind when I rant about the evils of failing fast. DA also is about more than just software development. So it supports many organizational domains. So for example, there's advice for marketing and governance, enterprise architecture, data management, vendor management, and many other critical aspects to your organization. So some people will say that DA is only focused on software development, and I would invite them to spend more than 5 minutes and do some reading because it's very clearly not. Marketing is marketing, finance is finance, and so on. Yeah, so yes, software development is important and is an aspect of DA, but it's not the only aspect of DA. So it goes far beyond the limitations of the Agile Manifesto. So how can we apply DA at the team level to improve our ways of working? So one of the philosophies, actually, this is a philosophy from Agile from the very, very beginning, is that teams should own their own process. They should be allowed to choose their own way of working. Now, this assumes they know how to do that, and that's a huge assumption. So DA provides advice for how to choose effectively. So there's several techniques that the DA toolkit captures and shares to help you evolve your way of working. So when I first put a team together, we first of all need to assess our situation. What's our context, right? I constantly talk about choosing the right practices for your context, but if you don't know what situation you're in, if you don't know your context, it's really hard to choose the right strategies. Then you need to choose a life cycle. So an interesting thing about DA, unlike the frameworks, is that it doesn't prescribe a life cycle. It supports multiple ways of working. So for example, there's a Scrum-based life cycle. There's also Kanban-based life cycles, because some teams are more agile in nature, some teams are more lean in nature. There's project-based life cycles. There's non-project life cycles, like continuous delivery life cycles, more of a DevOps type of an approach. There's a program life cycle. There's an exploratory life cycle for doing lean startup type work. So different teams in different situations will choose different life cycles. One size does not fit all. And this is something you could choose to observe in your organization. Some teams will be following one way of working, other teams will be following another way of working, and there'll be very different teams in very different situations working in different ways. And that's okay. Allow them to choose the best way of working for the situation they face. And then, of course, you have to do a little bit of process tailoring, tweak the approach because one size does not fit all. And then finally, throughout your work effort, throughout your project, if you're doing projects, or throughout your life cycle, or throughout your just daily working, you'll evolve your way of working to reflect your new learnings and your new situation. So the first three techniques are done, hopefully fairly quickly at the beginning of the life of a team, during inception, and then evolving your way of working is an ongoing thing that you'll do throughout. So I highly advise you to embrace the fact that teams are unique. Every person is unique, every team is unique, every organization is unique. As a result, one size does not fit all. Different teams in different situations need to be allowed to work in different ways. And what's interesting is that even if you try to force the same process in all your teams, all you're really doing is forcing them to make it look as if they're following the process that you're forcing upon them. They're still going to do the best they can in the situation they face. This is normal human behavior. But what they will do is they will do extra work to create the artifacts to cater to the PMO or to the governance people or whoever it is that's trying to force them to follow a repeatable process. That's just additional cost, time, overhead, and risk. Feel free to quote me on this. It's grossly incompetent. There's no nice way of saying that. So don't fall for the repeatable process nonsense. It's observably not true. It was never a good idea. So anyways, I also believe that you can do better than just failing fast. Now, this person is having a great time on his jet ski. Well, I was sure he's having a great time on his jet ski until about half of a second before he wiped out. I hope he was okay. But, he's failed fast. And failing fast is certainly better than failing slowly, but it's still failing. So, half a second after this picture was taken, this gentleman's in the water. Hopefully that, skidoo hasn't landed on him, or sea-doo, I should say, hasn't landed on him. And I hope he was okay. But he's no longer having any fun. He's sucking up water or whatever's happened to him. So anyways, bad news. So we can do better than just failing fast. So one of the things that DA teaches us how to do is to be smarter about our approach to doing evolution or development. So this is the PDSA loop. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. And the idea, how can you improve upon PDSA is a very good question to ask. So, the first step is to do a little bit of planning, identify what your current challenge is, identify potential improvements, and then identify how you're going to measure whether or not you improve. Now, the naive approach is to make a guess. The smarter approach is to improve with guidance. So one of the things the DA toolkit brings to the table is it puts options into context for you. So if you know how to use the toolkit, and so say we've got a certain problem, say we have a problem with data quality, for example, right? Well, what are the options for improving data quality? Well, there's many quality improvement options in DA. We can go and look. If I know how to use the toolkit, I can go and look and say, oh, hey, there's like 3 options here. It looks, doing a little bit of reading, like 5 minutes of reading. Oh, it looks like option B is more likely going to work in our situation than say option A. So let's experiment with option B. So the idea here is what we want to do is increase our chance of success. We want to fail less often. If we're going to fail, yes, failing fast is the way to go, but I would rather succeed fast. And we can do that. We can increase our chances of success by making better decisions. And the way that we make better decisions of what techniques to experiment with is by doing so with a bit of guidance, having the humility to understand that even though we are unique, facing a unique situation, other people have faced similar situations before and have figured out how to get through them. So we can leverage their learnings. We don't have to make stuff up. And that's the vast majority of Agile coaches, unfortunately, don't have the background to coach. They don't have the knowledge they need to provide the advice that they're being paid to give, because it's a complex world. Like I said, there's like 1,700 practices put into context in DA. There's no possible way that your coach knows all 1,700 of those practices, let alone the ones that aren't in the toolkit as well. But be that as it may. So that's why the toolkit's constantly evolving. So anyways, we can up our game by using DA. And then you run your experiment, you try it out, you measure. This is why you want to identify how you measure success. So fair enough. Like, did this new practice actually improve things? If it did, adopt it. If it didn't, abandon it and move on, right? And then, of course, you rinse and repeat. You keep going. So this is a technique called guided continuous improvement. And there's a lot of great information on the PMI site about this technique, as well as actually in the Choose Your WOW book. And of course, you want to continue measuring your improvement. Always measure, by following GQM or OKR or whatever measurement techniques or strategies you believe in, or that work well for you in your situation. So how can we do this at the organization level? So organizational improvement is critical. Yes, improving at the team level is important, but it's limited, right? If I could have a really great team, but if the rest of my organization is a mess, my team's not going to be that effective, right? So the overall organization has to improve and learn and get better as well. So how do we actually do that? So DA provides a transformation strategy, these overviews, a transformation strategy. Now it's fairly straightforward, but there's some details that we'll talk about in a second. So your first step, so DA defines a 3-step strategy. First, assess your situation. Where are you? What context do you face? What do you hope to achieve? Then you want to improve. That's where all the details are. And then finally, you want to thrive. You want to be, your goal is to become a learning organization. Learn how to learn how to improve. So the meat is actually in that second step. Well, the first step is also pretty critical, but certainly the second step is important. So how do we support continuous improvement in DA, or how does DA support continuous improvement, I should say? So as you would expect, it supports many options. It gives you options. It doesn't prescribe what to do. It gives you options, because different organizations will transform in different ways. One size does not fit all. So if you're looking for a magic, tell me the 8 magical steps to do an organizational transformation, sure, people, their books have been written along those lines. People will give those advice, that advice. But the fact is, are those the right 8 steps for you? I don't know. I don't know anything about you. I think it's pretty arrogant to think that I can tell you the 8 magic steps to improve and that they'll always work for you, right? So, because the reality is that you are unique, your organization is unique. So you need to choose the right techniques and apply them at the right time for the situation that you face. One size does not fit all. And this is the case with transformations as well. And I think this is a primary reason why the Agile transformation community has such a huge failure rate, because there is no easy answer, and yet everybody wants one, and there's a lot of people trying to sell you easy answers, and the answer is do the hard work, know what you're doing and do the hard work, and expect that it's going to take a long time, because this is really a journey. It's not a destination. And the only way you can make this successful is by choosing the right techniques for your situation. So just to wrap up here, some parting advice before I start taking questions. So I believe your goal should be to become a purposeful learning organization. It's not just to adopt a framework. Like I said, adopting a framework might be the first step, but it's not the end goal. And your goal is not to become Agile, by the way. That might be part of the overall picture, but it's really to learn how to learn and to become a purposeful organization. This is hard, but you can definitely do this. Other people have done this. So yeah, it's going to be hard work. And this will never end. This is a journey. It's not a destination. So do not treat this like a project. That is the kiss of death. If you think your Agile transformation is a project, you might as well just get a stack of money and flush it down the toilet now. And film that and put it on YouTube, because that'll at least be fun. But yeah, you're wasting your time if you're running a transformation project. I'll put it this way: every Agile transformation project, they either crash and burn, or they realize, oh, this really isn't a project; it's really a journey. And then you spend the first, your first project is really to learn that it's not a project. That's usually the way it plays out. So not a project, sorry. And invest in your people. It really is, people are absolutely critical. Get them trained in DA. This is, and I'll be blunt, I have no skin in this game at all. I don't do DA training. And my recommendation is to get trained in DA. So take it for what that is. But like I said, somebody who makes no money at training in DA is telling you to get trained in DA. So that might be good advice. Anyways, so thank you very much. I'm happy to take some questions now. Or take answers. Answers are great too. Probably better than questions.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was very, very, very good and very, a very good session. Thank you. The goal is not to become Agile. The goal is to become a purposeful organization, a learning organization. Thank you for giving us that quote. I know you all have a lot of questions, so please, I earlier said that if you have questions, put it in the chat. I am monitoring the chat, definitely. We have one question there now, so if you do have questions, please keep them coming. We have a couple of minutes to deal with your questions. We also want to leave as soon as early as possible. We don't want to keep you more than 1 hour here, so the earlier you send your questions, the better for us. There is one question from Hoga, which is really important. And he asked that, what would you give as a good example to measure improvement? And it's looking at actionable metrics.
Yeah, that's a great question. I really went fast over that. So the answer is it depends. So, what it depends on is, what are you trying to improve? So if I'm trying to improve staff morale, then I need to identify measures that pertain to staff morale. Maybe it's a happiness measure, for example. If I'm trying to measure data quality, or improve data quality, then I'm going to have to measure data quality. So that's the interesting point. And so the issue, so this is reflected in, say, OKRs or in goal question metric, right? So it's the point is that your context will drive what you're trying to improve, which in turn drives what you measure, so that way you can know whether or not you're improving it. So there is no one size fits all. So I'm going to go back about 20 slides. This is going to be painful. Maybe not too painful. Oops, that is painful. Let me get back to where was it here? No, must have been. Okay, I'm not going to find it. Anyways, you'd think I'd be able to. No, okay. So I'm sorry about that. I thought I would be able to find this. But what I wanted to get to is that if you go to pmi.org and go playing around with the toolkit, and actually, John Monroe, if you're still on, if you could maybe put these URLs in the chat for me. So one of the process goals in the toolkit is called measure outcomes, and that goal has 40 or 50 different potential types of metrics, things that different ways you can measure various aspects of what you're trying to improve. And there's other metrics throughout the toolkit as well in different places, but measure outcomes is like 80% of where this material is. And the point I'm making is that you've got options, and that one size does not fit all. So it really does depend on what you're trying to improve. And it really does depend on, and so then depending on what you're trying to improve, identify the right metric for the situation you find yourself in, is the short story. And luckily the DA toolkit gives lots of options. And let's see. Okay, yeah, oh, great. So John, yeah, Pete, yeah, okay. So both John and Pete shared the browser. Yeah, so if you go poking around in the browser, you'll quickly find those measures. And the goal is called measure outcomes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely one size doesn't fit all, I can tell you. with my years of experience that, yeah, there are a lot of things to measure, and you actually get what you measure, or you, if you measure the wrong thing, then it's easy to gain. So one size doesn't fit all. The best way, the place to start is probably to go through the discipline Agile browser, and then you'll be able to see a lot of help and content there. Thank you so much. Now, there's been a lot of conversation around succeeding early, in the chat. I think a lot of people are really considering that. There was a slide you mentioned that, either fail fast, succeed early. Is there anything you want to add on that, or that's fine?
Yeah. So actually, I want to point out on the measurement stuff too, is that your measurements will change over time. So for example, if you're trying to improve staff morale, well, if you're successful, and I hope you are, then at some point, improving staff morale won't be the thing that you're focused on anymore. Now, you should still probably keep measuring it for a while, because you don't want to slip back to, whatever problems you used to have. But at some point, you'll have solved the problem, and new problems will become your priority, right? So then you'll change up, you'll change your focus from improving staff morale to improving data quality. So you'll start focusing more on data quality than the staff morale thing. So the metrics change over time, and that's okay. What's also interesting is different teams will measure things in different ways. So for example, if your organizational goal, your OKR, is to improve quality, which is a common thing, the way that a marketing team defines quality is very different than the way that the security team defines quality, which is very different yet again than the way the software teams or the data teams define quality. So I can ask all of those teams to improve quality, but there won't be common metrics across the board, right? There will be, the marketing team will have 3 or 4 metrics that add up to some sort of marketing quality, whatever that is, I don't know. Security will have their collection of metrics that measure quality. The data team will, have their data quality metrics. So each of those teams can measure whether or not they're improving quality in their own way, in the domain that they face. But then we need to roll those metrics up into an overall trend metric for how is what is the level of quality in marketing and in security and in data and whatever else. So this requires some sophistication on the part of your governance and leadership team, because when one size doesn't fit all, the implication is that the people who are doing, who are pretending to be leaders, need to understand that different teams will do things in different ways. So they must be able to lead in a context-sensitive manner. So if I'm the CEO and I have a marketing team and a data team and a security team and a this team and a that team, I need to understand that, marketing quality is, marketing quality, and so on. So I can't, if I start trying to enforce data quality standards on the marketing team and on the security team, that would be crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So one size does not fit all, which means the higher up in the hierarchy you are, the more competent you need to be. Which I hope I wouldn't have to say, but stuff happens.
I can relate.
So, anyways, I'll leave it at that.
I can relate to that. Definitely relate to that. Thank you so much. Right. So, Sonny, you had a question about, are there more reading resources? I'll start with that. The answer to that question. Myself, John, and Scott have talked so much about the freely available resources on the PMI website. There are a lot of free resources over there, reading resources. I've got a hard copy of the whole edition of the Choose Your Well book. This is also very good. We have a more compact one, which is the blue right now. That's a book from Scott and Mark about Choose Your Ways of Working. You can also have that if you are a fan of, hard copy. But Scott, is there any other material that you would like to really share with people?
Yeah, so I think you're right. So I think the Choose Your Wow book and the Introduction to Disciplined Agile Delivery book, both from PMI, are great resources. For those of you who are PMI members, if I'm not mistaken, the Choose Your Wow book you can get free in PDF form, just like other PMI publications. Or you can get the printed or the Kindle version for, I think, $20 US, or probably a little less than that. So it's a fairly inexpensive resource. But frankly, you know, the Disciplined Agile site at PMI.org has a wealth of information. So pretty much all the information in those books is also published at the website. So you don't even need to, you know, go through that effort of getting the PDF. You know, if you like browsing web pages better than reading PDFs, I guess. So yeah, there's a lot of, you know, PMI is incredibly generous in the way that it shares information about DA and other things, of course, but certainly about DA.
All right, great. Thank you for that. I'll quickly answer this one quickly. Mariama, you did say, does PMI provide DA training? Definitely. There are massive, there are a lot of trainings, and PMI and DA have said, start from where you are. No matter where you are in your journey, there is a curated training for you. If you want to learn more about that, you can connect with me afterwards. We can share that with you. There are options for you on the, you know, on the PMI angle, which is self-paced. You can also come to an ATP, that's the authorized training partner like Pete Lauren Consulting, if you want the face-to-face or the instructor-led training as well. So there are massive opportunities for training on disciplined Agile. I hope I've answered that correctly. Scott, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, no, yeah, a lot of great training, a lot of great material out there. You know, DA is well supported. I suggest you take advantage of that.
There is a question here, which is from Shegon, say, why are so many Scrum fanatics against DA? That's a very tricky one.
Yeah, I don't think they're against DA. I think the problem is they don't understand DA. And you know, back when I used to teach DA, it was interesting because I would get like, you know, the Scrum fanatics, or, you know, people, and didn't have to be fanatics, but people who believe they were experienced in Scrum, and, you know, I've been doing Scrum for 5 years, right? So you'd get people like that at the back of the room, and they'd be, you know, not that interested in DA because they believed they knew everything. And it was interesting. And I was usually teaching either 2 or 3 day courses, but invariably at the end of the first day, all those Scrum bigots would be coming to me and saying, and apologizing, and it's like, oh man, I had no idea. And it's just like, not only have you, like, we've been struggling with problem X for months now, and I've been getting no help from the Scrum community other than, you know, wishful thinking. And not only does DA have a solution for that, but you worked through 5 solutions and you told me the trade-offs, and, you know, and clearly, you know, solution C is probably the best strategy for me. And that's what we're going to experiment with. You gave us options. You didn't, not only could you solve the problem, but you gave us various options so we could find the best fit for us. And it's like, and there's so many other things that you've dealt with that, you know, we've also, you know, we struggled with in the past. And I've had many people say, I wish I had DA 2 years ago when I was struggling with, you know, architecture stuff, because you saw, you know, in 2 minutes, you went through what took us, you know, 1.5 years to figure out the hard way through failing fast and other fooling around. And he said, yeah. I was like, yeah, because, you know, it's based on reality, not based on wishful thinking. So I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of that to it. So yeah, so, you know, take a look at DA, a lot of great stuff there. And, you know, some of the feedback I also used to get was, you know, DA is pretty big, it's pretty complex. And I said, yeah, but we live in a complex world. And I would, you know, my response to the complexity issue is always, well, okay, what would you take away? What would you take away? You know, look at it coherently. Don't just whine. Don't whine. Stop whining. and instead tell me what you would take away. And what was interesting, every single time, like 100% of the time that I had that conversation with people, in about 2 minutes, they would start saying, oh, wait a minute, you don't have this, you're missing this, and you're missing that. And I said, well, okay, no, actually that's over there, but you just, you're looking in the wrong place. Fair enough. Or it's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we don't have that. So now you're telling me it's not complex enough. Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. Okay. Yeah. So that was always my challenge. What would you take away? And the answer can't be, well, we don't do it this way in my situation. Okay, no, yeah, fine. You might not do it, but does it make sense that other people might be doing it? Oh, well, yes. Okay. So then, to be honest, we really can't take it away because it's a valid, that's a valid option in other situations. You just don't happen to be in that situation at the present moment. Fair enough, right? So, and I think that, and this is threatening to the Scrum and even to the SAFe people, in that they want easy answers, and there aren't any easy answers. That's the problem, right? You've really got to make choices for you, and that's, I think, what the failing fast stuff is all about. But then that requires the humility to understand that other people have already figured similar problems out, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So take some of the fun out of failing fast. Like I said, that example of that guy on the Sudoku, I'm sure he's having a blast failing, but yeah, you can have fun succeeding too.
Yeah.
So think of it like that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And this is going to be the last question because I've got to share 1 or 2 slides before we round up. And this is from Suleiman, and he is asking if there are no such thing as best practices. Is there a form of practice that could be applied in all contexts? I think you just answered your own question, but
I think, yeah. So perhaps, so I've been looking for best practices for almost 4 decades now, and have yet to find a single one. But I'm open-minded. I hope to find one someday. I would almost argue that the practice of it depends is the ultimate best practice. But sadly, I can find examples of where it depends is not not the way to go. So, for example, if we were in a burning building at the present moment, the best way to go is get out the fire exit, right? So it doesn't depend anymore. It's like, get the hell out, stop talking and get out. So in that case, a prescriptive approach is the way to go. So, and only one approach is the way to go, assuming there's only one fire exit. So I think there's, even the it depends strategy, depends. So, but yeah, like I said, I don't know of any best practices, and I have been actively looking at it. Now, having said that, I've run into thousands of things that have been presented as best practices, but they don't work in all situations.
100%. I support you in that. I've got, I've supported a lot of Agile adoption, Agile transformation, and, every single adoption process or transformation agenda is different. So one size doesn't fit all. You can use a couple of practices in different areas, but not the same. So the context matters side of things is really important, is really, really very important. Okay, so I am just going to quickly share with us a few things before we round up. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you again to you, Scott, for really sharing your wealth of experience with us today. We really do appreciate it, and I know the community also appreciate it as well. Now, just to round up, in June, we'll be expecting to hear from Taufik Babayaju as he takes us through the world of agility from a business perspective. This is one of our own in Nigeria. If you really want to know how he has applied Agile to his business and to his enterprises that is support, please do not miss that. It's coming up on Wednesday, the 21st of June, and I believe it's going to be as as great as this current session as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you have too. You'll receive more information very, very, very soon. On that note, would like to say thank you so much to you, Scott, for joining us today, and for everyone with your engaging questions. We really do not take it for granted, and also we say thank you for supporting this cause. And I hope that this has also added to your, your wealth of experience. If there is something you are taking away today, you're applying to work tomorrow, you are improving your knowledge base, this is what we're all about. So we keep coming up at least once every month. We hope you join us next month. Now, watch out for the recording of this session. The link will be sent within the next 24 hours as soon as it is ready. And I believe also that Scott's recording, Scott's PowerPoint presentation can be downloaded as well. I can ask for Scott to send me a copy so that I can share with you all. So this is just on the hour, and I would like to say thank you again, and I have a very wonderful night if you're joining from Africa, and enjoy the rest of the day from the other part of the world. Thank you so much, and have a good one.
Good job, Pete. Thanks, Scott. Good presentation.
Thank you, Pete. I will get that PDF to you in